Hey everybody, today we are going to be doing something a little different. Normally I look at decks for the World Championships like Worlds 2004, Worlds 2008. Today we're going to be taking a look at a deck from the Diamond and Pearl at the Stormfront format, which is, I believe, the 2009 Cities format. The reason I want to talk about this is some of these alternative formats have come up a little bit more lately. Diamond and Pearl to Stormfront is one, Diamond and Pearl to Arceus is another. But essentially, it has a lot of the benefits of the 2010 format without introducing DCE into the format, which a lot of people consider to be a big problem, but that's a different conversation. I'm going to say that this format it's fun to play in a very casual setting, but it's not the type of format that you would like to play in a competitive setting. And the reason I say that is not that the games aren't good. You can have some very good games in it. But there's a lot of first turn wins. And this is a format where playing it back in 2009, I did very well in this format. I think I went 24-1 or 25-1 over the span of several cities. Chris Fulop, I believe, played a similar Kingdra deck, and he went, I think he said 35-0. And while these may seem like we're exaggerating these numbers, I can assure you we're not. It was just something where this was a format where if you were a really good deck builder and you understood the mechanics of the format, that there was such a large power creep when Legends Awaken came into the format that it put you so far ahead of other players in that time frame who didn't make that connection. So, and we're going to jump into that a little bit here. So essentially we're playing Kingdra. And what Kingdra does is it's got two attacks. The Aqua Stream, you can search your deck for as many water energy and shuffle them into your deck. It does 10 damage for each. The second attack is Dragon Pump. It does 40 damage, but if you discard 2 cards, you do 60 and then 20 to 1 on the bench. Now this is for a single energy. At the time, this was an unbelievable power creep to be able to do that kind of damage for that low of an energy cost. And also keep in mind in this format, there was no Nidoqueen to heal this off. So that 20 damage on the bench was more than likely going to stay. Dragon Pump is going to be the main attack you're using, but Aqua Stream was also a nice option for the deck to get away with playing a very low energy count. And I'm going to say Kingdra decks at the time played two different strategies. Some played a very high water energy count, like you'd see like a 13, 14 energy. And the thinking behind that was that at some point in the game, you were going to be able to Aqua Stream for a one-hit KO on a very large Pokemon. The opposite side would be to play a much lower energy count, like 6, 7, 8, and essentially focus on Dragon Pump the entire game, and then you had Aqua Stream there if you needed it to shuffle some energy back in. This list focuses on playing just the 7 water energy, and I think that's better because that frees up 6 or 7 spots in the deck that you'd otherwise be devoting to energy. So the idea behind this is that we are literally going to play only enough energy where we get to see an energy on the first turn of the game. Now, Kingdra is, as we covered, obviously very, very strong. So the idea was to get Kingdra out on the first turn consistently. And this is what led to a lot of first turn wins, is that you would get that turn one Kingdra, use Dragon Pump, your opponent would have a lone basic, game would be over. Even if your opponent had more than one basic, they're still, facing 60-20 before they even get to draw, and they're going to be facing that every single turn consistently. So the way we do that is we use a lot of essentially turn and burn cards, where you just dump your hand down and then draw a bunch of cards back up. You have Uxie, which is absolutely outstanding for this. Another card that just was a huge power creep in Legends Awaken. You draw until you have 7 cards in your hand, and then you got a bunch of really quick, just you can take them and play them cards. So like Pokédex, look at the top 2, put 1 into your hand. Pokédrawer, you can play it as 1 to draw 1. If you have 2 Pokédrawers, you can search your deck for any 2 cards, which guarantees you the turn 1 Kingdra pretty much. 4+ power to get some extra damage in there. But we'll go ahead and just start in on the deck here. So we play 4 copies of Horsey. Horsey it's not great, but if you did miss the turn 1 Kingdra, you could throw it back to the bench and put something like an Uxie out or something, just a sacrificial Pokemon. Smokescreen was also okay in a pinch. It probably wasn't going to be enough to change a game, but it was an option you had. 2 Seadra. Nothing too special with Seadra, just the in-between form. The 80 HP was nice and could situationally matter. And then, of course, 4 Kingdra. 3 copies of Uxie. The 4th copy you usually didn't have bench space for, and it wasn't particularly needed. 2 copies I don't think is enough to consistently get you those draws, so 3 played really well. 2 copies of Baltoy, 2 copies of Claydol. I don't like a thicker Claydol in line in this. I think 2 copies is enough where you're going to make sure you're not prizing it, but at the exact same time, too, you're also not going to be dead drawing into it. And this is a tech that I'm very proud of. I'm sure I'm not the only one that came up with this, but this is a tech that I came up with at the Cities format, which was essentially Cresselia. And what it did is it took your mirror from a 50-50 into, if I play Cresselia, I win, unless you donk me. And if you don't play Cresselia, then I win. So essentially what you want to do here, so I guess to say that better, if I play Cresselia and you don't in the mirror, I'm going to win that game unless you get a very, very good start and I get a very, very poor start. And the reason for that is because Kingdra's got 130 hit points. So if they hit you for 60 and you have a Cresselia, you're going to put it at 50 and then put the 10 damage on them. So instantly to knock you out, they're going to need 2+ powers. Maybe they'll have that, but they're going to need to do that for every single Kingdra, and they're not going to have, obviously, 12+ powers in their deck, or I'm sorry, 8+ powers in their deck. So it's just you're taking a damage counter off yourself, putting it on something else, and let's say even if you're not playing against the Kingdra deck, for example, it's really, really good with that Dragon Pump damage to get cheap knockouts on the bench. Let's say you're putting, instead of taking 4 turns to knock out a Claydol, you could essentially knock it out in 3 turns with 1 Cresselia, or 2 turns if you had both Cresselia level X in play. So it was just a really, really strong option to have. On top of that, it is a pretty decent basic with 80 HP. It's not impossible for Kingdra decks to find the turn 1 Kingdra along with 2+ powers, but you at least made it a little bit more difficult for him playing this Cresselia. I also am going to say that there is a Future Sight Cresselia, which in my opinion has a better attack, but it's in this format, it's not worth losing that 10 HP over. Make them find that extra plus power if they're going to win on turn 1. Very low supporters, just 4 BB search, 4 Roseanne's research, just the essentials here. The idea is, once again, we do not want to clutter our hand when we're putting so much emphasis on Uxie. We want to be able to find Uxie on the first turn of the game, but we don't want to clutter our hand with it. 4 copies of plus power. I liked plus power in the deck. Like I said, it helped you find those turn 1 wins, helped you make sure you get 1-hit knockouts or 2-hit knockouts on certain Pokemon. If you want to be a real consistency nut on this, you can drop these and play Unknown R in the deck. The advantage of Unknown R is it is an additional basic. It'll decrease the odds of you getting turned 1, but at the same time, too, I think over the course of the game, plus power is just going to be a stronger option. 4 Pokédraw, just an essential turn and burn card. Either draw a single card, or if you have 2 of them in your hand, you can search your deck for any 2 cards. Obviously, searching your deck for any 2 cards is incredibly good. It's going to almost guarantee you that first turn Kingdra, but all in all, it's a worst case scenario. It's a 1-for-1 Pokédex. Better than a 1-for-1 because you get to look at the top 2 cards of your deck, choose one of them, put the other at the bottom of your deck. You do have to be a little careful with this, especially like in tournament play, because you want to make sure that you do put it on the bottom. You don't accidentally shuffle it in or something stupid like that. 4 copies of Rare Candy. Keep in mind, back in 2009, it was the old Rare Candy ruling, so you could play it on the first turn of the game. I think this deck is almost single-handedly changed that ruling. I really do feel like these incredibly obnoxious turn 1 wins, an incredibly large turn 1, I guess, pressure due to Rare Candy, was one of the biggest deciding factors in that, basically that ruling being changed. 4 copies of Warp Point. This has played a couple of different things. One, if you opened with a Pokemon that wasn't Uxie, or I'm sorry, Horsey, like an Uxie, a Baltoy, or Cresselia, it would make sure you could get that Horsey or Kingdra, the Kingdra turn 1 in play, because you're not going to be able to attach, retreat, and then power up the Kingdra as well. So, and make sure you could do that. And then on top of that too, it also would allow you to get Cresselia level X out really easily. And Cresselia level X is just huge in almost all your matchups. So those played really well. 3 copies of Luxury Ball. This may seem a little unusual too, because if you have a Luxury Ball in your discard pile, you can't play it. So essentially you play 1 live Luxury Ball and then 2 dead Luxury Balls. But you just pitched them to Kingdra's Dragon Pump. 1 copy of Night Maintenance. Basically giving you 5 Kingdras. And then 7 Water Energies. You could go as low as 6 or as high as 8 in this variant, but I think 7 is the right number. You basically just want to see 1. Beyond that, you don't really want to draw into them because, once again, you don't want to clog your hand for Uxie. You want to make sure you're getting as many cards off with Uxie as possible. So, 7 Water Energy is good. This isn't an incredibly complicated, I would say, strategy, but it does take a little bit to get used to, basically, the order of your cards and to play well to get large setups and stuff like that. I enjoy the format. I think it's a fun format to play. I obviously had a lot of fun playing it in the cities, but it's hard in a competitive environment just because of how much luck is actually involved with it. So I still prefer the 2010 format over one of these, I guess, half block formats. But if you're looking for something a little different to play, you want to play some very fast-paced games, try something a little different, I really recommend this. I do think Kingdra is probably the best deck in this format by a pretty wide margin. But that's going to go and just wrap up the video. If you got any questions, make sure to post them down below. Or if you want to see more of these, I guess, unusual formats, let me know. I'd love to cover maybe some different city formats, some different regional formats, state formats, stuff like that. But other than that, I hope to see you in the next video.